Hey guys, this is MugenLord here, and I'm back again with another video. And today I just want to talk about the Xbox Series X and just the Xbox brand in general, because I think this generation is going to be quite interesting as far as the console is concerned, because it seems like Xbox is really taking control of the narrative right about now, because it's really gaining everybody's attention as far as the acquisitions of quite a few companies, mainly Bethesda, and of course what they're doing with the Game Pass. And it's been definitely circulating around the news. Many content creators are now, especially if they weren't Xbox fans, are now keeping a close eye out to see what Microsoft's next biggest move is going to be, especially now that there's rumors of more acquisitions in the fold and behind the scenes, especially the rumors of Microsoft maybe acquiring Sega and Konami, and also maybe working a licensing deal with Discord, or even buying Discord. So this is really something that I really want to dive and dig into. So before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date and informed with anything gaming related, or if you a follower on Odyssey, make sure you hit that follow button. So let us dive right into it. Now, as far as my relationship with the Xbox console, I had bought the Xbox, or my father had bought it for me for Christmas back during the first original Xbox had released. Man, it's almost over a decade now, and I always seen potential in Xboxes, because especially since the western side of the world had never really had a console since I guess you could say the 3DO, or the Atari Jaguar and everything. So to see that America, or American console, is back to having their own console, I really seen some hope in it. And plus, it's from Microsoft, so Microsoft, they have the money, and they're going to keep throwing money at the console until they actually get it to work. And looking at the overall design of the original Xbox, I was really looking forward to the console. And it also had similarities to the Sega Dreamcast, and the fact is that Sega was also on board with releasing quite a few of their sequels from their Dreamcast lineup, and now they're coming over to the Xbox. I was definitely looking forward to the system, and Xbox has pretty much really did change the landscape for gaming altogether, especially bringing over a lot of PC developers, because a lot of these games that we now see on these consoles, they would have definitely, if Xbox wasn't around, I definitely believe that we will still see a lot of these titles only remaining to be like PC games opposed of console games. So Xbox really opened that gateway for PC developers to bring some of their games over to the platform and other consoles in the near future. Now we fast forward to the Xbox Series X. It looks like the Xbox Series X may be a force to reckon with. And I said this before, plenty of other videos in the past concerning the Xbox brand, is because a lot of people's downplaying the Xbox One, and I'll tell you right now, I've never invested in the Xbox One because, one, I was quite disappointed with their first party lineup, and plus, at the time, the PS4, not only had the great games, it was also the platform to even get your multi-plats on, because the Xbox 360, man, I had every Xbox 360 title, and I had nothing but third parties on the Xbox 360, and they didn't really carry that over much especially during the earlier years of the Xbox One. So I was quite disappointed in it, and I bothered not to invest in the Xbox One at all, and because I'm really known to getting all three competitors consoles every generation, but the Xbox One was something that I was like, you know what, it's not worth the investment. And plus, all my friends moved from the Xbox 360 and went to the PS4. So I did say that I believe that now, when Phil Spencer had jumped on board with the Xbox, I was saying that Phil Spencer's, he's going to do a good job, and he's been showing improvement during the Xbox One. But a lot of fans were saying they're turning things around, removing, having to connect, having to be like part of the Xbox One hardware and everything. They took that away, they stripped that away, so it wasn't demanded like it was in the past. In the earlier Xbox One life cycle, and he started turning things around, and a lot of people were still asking, okay, but where are the games? And of course you got the Sony fanboys trolling the Xbox fans, saying that you guys have no games, and if you guys do have games, they always move it over into the PC, so the Xbox really have no real exclusive because the PC can get that. And if you have a PC, and of course PC players, and the PC is much more superior when it comes to hardware, why get the Xbox when you can get the PC version of the game? So the PS4 fans had a lot of points to throw at the Xbox fans, but I always told the Xbox fans that Microsoft and Phil Spencer already had in their heads that it's pretty much a done deal with the Xbox One. There's no sense of trying to put all these resources and assets and trying to deliver some exclusives to the Xbox One. We might as well just focus our game onto the next generation of consoles, which is the Xbox Series X. But we did get a hint of what to expect with the Xbox Series X, or whatever at the time the next Xbox is going to be called, when they released the mid-generation console, which was the Xbox One X, which was much more powerful than the PS4 Pro, and overall a better console experience, much more powerful. So it kind of like Microsoft kind of turned the tides, because now when it came to which version of the games that you wanted to get that were multi-plat, people would prefer the Xbox One X opposed to the PS4 Pro. So things were kind of shifting quite a bit when it came to their marketing strategy and how powerful the console was with the mid-generation. So when I seen that, I started, rubbing my chin and scratching my head. It's like, I don't know. I think I sensed something great, or I sensed something promising coming to the next generation, which is what we're standing in right now. And then the fact is that they started acquiring all of these new studios. They went from, I believe, 6 studios to now over 20 something studios right about now. So these guys has really been cooking things up. Now people saying, okay, they acquiring these studios, but we don't see no games. And you got to understand, you're acquiring these studios, game development take years. So I already said during the time that they were acquiring these studios, I was saying that they're acquiring this near the end of the Xbox One life cycle. So we're not going to see any of these games until it spills over into the next generation, which we have is the Xbox Series X. So I was saying to myself that and I was telling many Xbox fans too, and I've been saying this on plenty of my Xbox videos, that Xbox fans, just hold on. You might as well just give up on the Xbox One. It's because most of what we're going to experience, and if you want to experience or looking forward to greatness as far as what the Xbox brand has to offer, wait to the next generation of consoles. Xbox One and this generation with the PS4 is over right now. PS4 dominated. They did their thing, and they very well deserved it, because they were kicking out the games that people wanted to play, and they took some of those Xbox players over, so they earned it, So I was saying to these fans, look forward, just look ahead, don't even think about the Xbox One. And now we here in the Xbox Series X, and I must say that everyone, in even PlayStation dedicated sites, now have their eyes on the Xbox, and now saying that Sony needs to do something to counteract the Game Pass and other features because of what Xbox is doing. And Microsoft, and I always said this since the Xbox One, is that Microsoft is thinking not in the short term, they're thinking in the long term, and how they're going to stretch this out and play this out. I mean, think about it. A lot of the Sony fans were teasing the Xbox fans about them taking their first party exclusives and also putting them on the PC. But the thing was, Microsoft was thinking ahead of the game, because to them now it's not even about moving hardware, it's about moving their brand and having their brands on multiple different devices, different services, having their software everywhere. So anywhere you go, you can pick up and play an Xbox brand type of game or service, and they're thinking about that. And now you look at Sony's closely watching them, and now you see Sony trying to adopt that same method, because we've seen plenty of articles where Sony even described themselves and said themselves that they're going to want to put more of their first party exclusives on the PC. And then I remember looking on Twitter, the Sony fanboys were upset. Now the thing is, I just don't understand this whole console war thing. I mean, it's so many people there's a lot of people out there that's just dedicated to a particular console and will live and die by that console, by that piece of plastic. And I just say, like, look, at the end of the day, we all gamers. We all should want to see everyone enjoy these games all together, because I'm a gamer first. Now, if you're new to my channel, you may think, you know, because of this video, you may assume that I'm an Xbox fanboy, and that's far from that, because I own almost every console. You know, right here you see the Xbox Series X. I mean, you can't see right now on the camera, but I also have the PlayStation 5 as well, and I also have, of course, my Nintendo Switch with the Pro controller. So I do play plenty of games. I also have a pretty good, well capable gaming PC, so I'm able to play PC games as well. So I'm a well-versed gamer, and of course got my VR right here, so I do VR gaming as well. So I'm a gamer first before I show a loyalty or allegiance to a console, you know, or to a particular company. So that really doesn't matter much to me at all. I just want to play the games. Where are the games? Wherever the games are, that's where I want to go. And I love to cover all my bases, because you don't know which console is going to produce games that you may enjoy and may want to, you know, get into. So that's what I feel about this whole console war thing. But the fact is that Sony fanboys are getting upset at the fact that Sony is now deciding to put more of their first party games on the PC. It kind of like destroys that whole argument that what Microsoft was doing, you know, putting their exclusives onto the PC, has been dismantled in a sense now. So that's pretty cool. Now, as far as what they've done with the Xbox Series X, which I think is pretty cool, is the Game Pass. The Game Pass, and I'm telling everybody right now, Game Pass is going to be the future. And I'm really telling you that right now. This is literally the Netflix of video games. And I've said in the past that since we're going to a more digital age, in a digital era, everybody's getting everything digital. Steam has done it first, and I wouldn't say done it first, but they have pretty much pioneered it in a way where everybody's just downloading everything to their hard drives, to their PC, to be able to play their extensive library and everything like that. So Microsoft seen this and wanted to capitalize on that. And like Phil Spencer said, with the whole Bethesda acquisition, a lot of these Sony fanboys were also saying that there's no way that, you know, the next Elder Scrolls or Fallout game or Doom game is going to just be specifically and exclusively to the Xbox platform. And I don't know where this delusion came from. And I've been saying it, past videos, you can go check it out. I said, no, there's no way in the world Microsoft's going to pay $7.9 billion just to still have their competitors still have these type of franchises and games still be on their platforms. It makes no sense. Now, people took what Phil Spencer said about they'll do it by, you know, base by base about how they'll put some of these games on other platforms, but people didn't look deep enough into it, because there's a lot of games that Bethesda had worked on that was already promised to Sony platforms or maybe the Nintendo platforms, and they still wanted to acknowledge those contracts and respect those contracts. But anything moving forward with anything else that's new within these franchises, hell no, it's staying on the Xbox ecosystem and their platform and anywhere the Game Pass is going to be. So I think Microsoft had put themselves in a smart position. And even though I haven't really spent much time with my PS5 or my Xbox Series X, I do see the potential in the Xbox Series X with the Game Pass, especially all my brothers, my father, they have the Xbox Series X and PS5s too. But my brothers play a lot of the Xbox Series X, especially with the Game Pass. It's for the fact is that the Game Pass does have a lot to offer. And the funny thing is, DX Strike, he just keep downloading stuff, and like it's to the point where he's not even finishing games. He's just finding games and trying them. And I think that's the pretty cool part about the Game Pass. And so when they're acquiring these different companies, that's more games to add to the library. And I think the smart thing about the Game Pass as well is the simple fact is that now if you didn't want to spend $60 for a game that you wasn't too crazy about or too sure of, now you'll be able to give it a chance now that you have the Game Pass, especially if the developers had pretty much signed off for it to be a Game Pass release. So now since you already paying for the Game Pass, you can just up and just download it and give it a try. And it also helped developers who are creating new IPs and are taking a risk. So if people don't spend $60 on this new IP, if they have the Game Pass, they give it a try. If those players have the Game Pass and give it a try, whatever DLC they may have or microtransaction they have, people are willing to kick out that money, and now they're making money off of these players who would never originally intended to go out to pretty much buy it for $60. And that's kind of like how I am right now. The game Outriders, there's no way in the world I was going to pay for that $60 for that game, or whatever how much that game is going to be. The fact is now that I have Game Pass, I'm willing to give Outriders a try, because it causes me nothing in that sense, because I have paid for the Game Pass, so I'm able to get on there and I will give Outriders a chance or whatever, as opposed to be paying $60. So I think that's really smart. And then the fact is that the Xbox Series S, which is the all digital, and it can only do up to 1080p, and I think it can upscale to 4K, I believe. And it's the much cheaper entry level console to get into the Xbox ecosystem. I think it was a smart choice, because now that they acquired Bethesda, I already have a few friends who already owns a PS5 and saying, you know what, I'm going to grab the Xbox Series S because it's cheap, they're able to get it, and they're able to still experience a little bit this Bethesda games. Now my boys, Nathaniel, aka Forrest Gardner, he just recently bought an Xbox Series S, and he said that's his Game Pass box. So he bought the Game Pass, and that's what he does, and that's what he plays now. And plus, what convinced him is that when he bought the Game Pass, he didn't even have an Xbox. He had it for his mobile devices. So he was playing Game Pass games on his cell phone, his pad, and everything. So he was already hooked. So that price point right there, and even though he has a PS5, he bought the Xbox Series S, and he called it the Game Pass box. He bought it for the Game Pass, and in fact, right now he's playing this Xbox Series S more than his PS5. So that really says a lot, especially from someone like my friend Nathaniel, who always been playing Sony and Nintendo consoles, always those two. And the fact is that he hasn't really played much of his Switch or his PS5 ever since he had the Xbox Series S. So he's been fiending on that. So I think that they're going in the right direction, and because of some of the practices that Sony been doing with the censorship and how they're handling a lot of their games and everything, and the fact is that Sony's now closing a lot of their Japanese studios in Japan, and they officially moved all their headquarters to the West. I think they're in California, I believe. Sony's starting to become more and more of an American company more than anything, and it's also pissing off a lot of Japanese developers because of their restrictions, because of their politics and stuff like that. A lot of Japanese developers are now shifting over and been developing more games for the Nintendo Switch, and also deciding to bring a lot of their games that's been censored by Sony, and they're considering going to the Xbox ecosystem as well. So this is going to be a quite interesting generation for the Xbox, and I'm telling you, Xbox fans, I think there's going to be a lot of games to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to them as well. And for those who weren't on board with Microsoft, I can see a lot of you coming over and seeing what Microsoft is doing, and I think this is going to be an interesting generation, not just only for the Xbox, but for Sony and Nintendo as well. I think this is the perfect time, the best time to be a gamer, because I think gaming is going to be something to look forward to in these upcoming years, to see what they're going to do with this next gen technology and everything. But that's pretty much how I feel, my overall opinion about the Xbox. I think the Xbox brand is going to be a force this generation, and if Sony don't get themselves together, or they get too arrogant, I think Microsoft can essentially pass by them. I mean, Nintendo's already in Japan kicking Sony's ass in Japan, and right now Sony's really trying to penetrate, or they already penetrated, but really trying to capture the Western audience. So he's really gonna have to see how all of this is going to come through. But I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, I want all three consoles to do good, because if all three consoles do good, that's good for us gamers, and I want competition between these competing companies for gaming to step their game up, because when they step their game up, they always gonna give us better services and better quality games. So we gotta keep pushing for this. We shouldn't divide ourselves into a Sony camp, a Nintendo camp, and a Microsoft camp. We definitely need everybody to just say, hey, look, let's just all get along, especially crossplay. But we'll get into crossplay in another video. But that wraps us up. What do you think about the Xbox brand? Are you an Xbox Series X or S owner? And what do you think about the two consoles? What do you think about the Game Pass? What do you think about the Xbox Series S, which I'm really curious about with the all digital? What do you think about it? Do you think it's a good entry point for gamers to get into the Xbox ecosystem? And also, do you think that the Xbox will eventually make, I could say, Xbox Live free eventually? What do you think about that? So if you like this video, hit the subscribe button. If you're a follower on Odyssey platform, you should hit the follow button. If you want to be notified for more gaming console news or Xbox news, hit the bell to be notified. This is MugenLord signing off. See you Game Fiends later. Peace out.